So today I'm here with one of the broker managers for RE/MAX Hallmark, Sam Ghany. Thank you, Sam, for being here today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Jacqueline.
Very much appreciate it. So Sam, you cover in terms of kind of obviously you have a lot of hats that you wear with Hallmark, but your main one is that you are the broker manager for the Durham region. So essentially you help agents, clients, and you eat, sleep, breathe, everything to do with GTA Durham real estate, correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Good, great. So I really appreciate you being here today. So what we wanted to focus on talking a little bit about today is what's happening in the GTA Toronto market. So obviously here in Northumberland, it's very much a domino effect in terms of whatever's happening in the GTA and Toronto area. We really see the residual impact here. So we have a lot of clients that are curious in terms of kind of what's happening there. So with that being said, I'm going to get started with one question that I'm starting a lot of the interviews with right now, and that's what are you grateful for right now?
So right now, I mean, after everything happening in our current climate with COVID, the biggest thing that I'm grateful for is my family and being able to spend more time with my kids. In real estate, as you know, it becomes challenging with our work-life balance and the amount of work that we actually put in the actual hours. Spending time with our children and our spouses can become challenging. So we do look forward to those date nights, which we're obviously not having right now, but spending some more time with my kids. We're bike riding a lot. We're doing a lot of walks, arts and crafts. So that's like major number one. My wife's also a nurse, so I'm grateful for her for being out there and helping in this situation that we're in. And saying that, juggling the two with my kids being at home and being at work. However, that said, having a leadership team like we have, and I'm so grateful for them, Deborah, Ken, and Steve, who've basically shifted the entire way that we operate as a brokerage, basically overnight. And our leadership team for just the synergy and collaboration that they've put together, and all of us jumping in on our group chats at 5 o'clock in the morning till 11 p.m. at night, and this constant messages back and forth of how can we help our agents help their clients. Because at the end of the day, our agents have clients, and as I said to you earlier, our agents are our clients, and we're doing everything we possibly can to ensure that they flow through what's going on in COVID in a positive manner.
Yeah, absolutely. And as one of your agents, I can tell you that I can speak for everyone that we are so grateful for yourself and the leadership team right now. And I know even recently Hallmark has opened up their training sessions to agents outside of the Hallmark family and are on a lot of webinars, a lot of podcasts. And I think, you know, in this type of situation, we really see, you know, the true meaning of leadership. And I know I've said that a lot about, you know, our Prime Minister and our Premier. And I think Hallmark is certainly showing, you know, the leadership in terms of not just with our own company, but with the industry right now in general. And I, for one, am very grateful for that for you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think it's one of our taglines is We Move Ontario. And we're changing that now to We Move Ontario Together. So it doesn't really matter what brokerage you work for. We're in an industry in real estate where we have to be collaborative with everybody and work together to get everybody else out of the situation. Whether you work Hallmark or not, we don't care. It's more of let's help everybody and let's work on this together to get out of this thing together.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So with that being said, let's dive right into the real estate related questions.
Love it.
Yes. So as we know, real estate is deemed an essential service. Can you share with us your thoughts on exactly what that means and what that doesn't mean right now?
So essential service, that list was pretty long that came out initially of the list of essential services. Now, real estate, I truly believe it is essential, an essential service to a certain extent. I do believe that people still need to buy and sell real estate, no matter what. People have already purchased real estate in the first part of the year. And if we were not deemed an essential service, what happens to those people who purchased? How much money will be lost out of their transactions if they were unable to close their transactions? And also, if those have already sold and they absolutely have to purchase, what's going to happen to those people as well? So it's absolutely essential. Housing and a roof and a shelter over someone's head, that is an essential part of someone's life. And to deem it an essential service is absolutely important in my eyes because of those exact reasons. However, there are areas of real estate that I do not think is essential, and we've adapted to that, and we've changed the way that we've operated our business, and we're pushing it out to our agents from open houses, which obviously are not essential right now, to more virtual style open houses and virtual showings, and doing more of the back end stuff on via things like Zoom or platforms like Zoom, from the legal side right through your transaction. So we're essentially able to get a transaction done totally virtual at this point. Obviously, it's not ideal, but it's what we're working with right now. So that's basically my thoughts on being an essential service.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for sharing that. So in terms of kind of, can you give us a little bit of an overview of what was happening in the GTA Toronto market pre-COVID-19? So what was that market like for you guys?
The GTA Toronto market, it was crazy. It was hot. We were in multiple offers. The first instance of multiple offers I recall seeing was in January rather. There was a house for sale in Brampton, very far obviously from our Durham region marketplace, but it had 77 offers on it, and everybody went crazy because we went through a market from 2017 right until the end of 2019, even beginning of 2020, where we weren't seeing a lot of multiple offers. They were coming periodically, but not something like we saw in early 2017. And that was an indicator or a trigger for us that within a certain price range, we're receiving multiple offers. We're seeing multiple offers outside of the Toronto area. So what was happening pre-COVID, that really kicked it off. And we saw more and more situations where people were pricing homes, and it wasn't priced based on having a multiple offer situation. They were just organically and naturally getting multiple offer situations in their properties, strictly organically. So we started seeing more and more multiple offers throughout Durham region. So in January, when that started, and then we started seeing the more aggressive pricing strategies, then we started seeing more and more multiple offers. We went back to where we were seeing prices in 2017 for the first time. So we started seeing a lot of homes that we thought were worth, $720, $730, and all of a sudden they're selling for $780, $790, $800, and we're like, whoa, we're back into a crazy market again. Now we have to readjust. So that was what was happening pre-COVID, and that happened right up until, I would say, March break, where every day something started changing for us.
Okay. And that actually leads to the next question of when would you really say that things really started to shift dramatically? Was it around that March break time period?
Yeah, right around March break. Every day there started to be more and more changes. And then on the Monday, which would have been the third week of March, we saw the Dow Jones take a pretty big hit. And from that day, we started seeing more and more properties staying on the market a little bit longer, holding off offers and not receiving any offers. So the first series of Zoom calls that we had prior to us even shutting the offices down were really geared towards, okay, you had multiple offers set. What is your next strategy in place when you did not receive any offers on that property? Things were still selling. They just were not selling in crazy multiples. So we went from having 20 to 25 offers on a home on a Sunday night to Monday and Tuesday to getting maybe one offer on that particular home as well.
Okay, wow, yeah, so big shift there. And what are you seeing now in terms of the number of homes that are selling in the GTA versus the number of homes being listed?
So what I'm seeing right now is basically what you mentioned earlier. It's a domino effect. So we can't look at the whole of GTA because Durham is so different than what we see in Toronto. And what happens in Toronto, and when I say the E's, which is the east end of Toronto because we run on a district map. So E9, 10, 11, and I'll explain those districts as well. It's Bendale, Bellamy, and Lawrence to McCowan. E10 will be Rouge, so Port Union down by the lake. And then we have E11 on the north side by the Toronto Zoo. Those markets really dictate what happens out in Durham. So we follow those pretty closely to see once those start picking up, we know for sure out of that price range, which is generally about $100,000 more than a lot of projects in Durham region. When they start to shift, we start to shift out here. So we keep a pretty close eye on what's happening out there. So they've slowed down, definitely. However, their inventory has slowed down. So we're not seeing as much inventory coming up on the market. I also do run the stats for the year over year per week. So when I looked at my year over year per week in March, there was very little change. All of March, even after we started going into the not having multiple offers, things were still selling. However, when we came into April, we saw that shift on the year over year, where we would see 238 listings sold second week of April in 2019 versus a 60% drop in 2020 for that same region in all of Durham.
Okay, yeah, so that's very similar in terms of what we're seeing here in Northumberland. So I'm doing weekly stats as well. And we're down right now about year over year, about 44% in terms of the overall number of sales. So last week was probably the biggest drop that we've seen. Up until then, it was down, but not too bad. So have you seen much change in terms of the average price point in terms of what homes are selling for, or is it too early to tell at this point?
I don't think it's too early to tell. And the reason behind that, because when you're looking at the price change, we have various segments of buyers and sellers in our marketplaces, as you know. So we have that first-time home buyer, and that price range for us in Durham is between $600,000. So between $400,000 and $600,000, that first-time home buyer is still there. They're still buying product. Above $600,000, you start moving into the move-up buyers. So the ones who are selling for their first home and they're moving up to a second home. Those buyers, they're holding off until this thing is over. And then you get to the luxury marketplace, which is really in Durham, anything above $900,000, you start seeing more of the luxury listings. Those ones are not moving as fast either. So we have those three portions, and you have the buyers, the first-time home buyers who are actively buying real estate between the $400,000 and $600,000. Then you have a new segment of buyers out there, and that's the buyer who is looking for a deal. So they have a lot of money in their back pocket. They're ready to start purchasing, and they're purchasing some of our product as well at a discounted price. So I have not seen a price reduction or prices come down. Maybe at best 2% difference year over year that we're seeing.
Okay, yeah, that's good information. And again, a lot of similarities, I think, in terms of our two markets. Obviously, our first-time buyer bracket is kind of more between the 3 to 450 range. Still seeing a lot of movement there, but definitely our luxury or our move-up buyer market has drastically gone down in terms of number of sales, and a lot more sales happening in the lower end, which of course is going to make it seem as though our average price is coming down, but it's just really more to do with what's actually selling. So again, seems like we're seeing a lot of similarities between the two.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Now, in terms of kind of last question, and I've asked a lot of people this, and I'm sure you've been asked this before too. So if you could just dust off the old crystal ball and present us with, or share with us your thoughts in terms of kind of what's the market going to look like when this is all said and done, and any idea in terms of kind of when you're thinking that we're going to start to see that pick up again.
So I was on a couple Zoom calls this morning prior to our call, and of course we don't have a crystal ball, so I'm going to dust off this one right here. The economy needs to move, obviously, and real estate is going to help that economy move with every job that is offered through one particular transaction. If you think about how many families are fed off of one transaction, from people who are doing renovations, even like things like Home Depot, Lowe's, and Rona, they're all moving forward as well. So as far as timeframes, it has to happen before September, before school starts. School needs to start in September. I do see real estate, though, however, there's been a lot of listings that were taken off the market once this hit. So for those who absolutely did not have to sell their home, they came off the market. So we're going to start seeing, and from what we're looking at as numbers-wise, and we're constantly looking at our number of appointments that's being made, we're looking probably the end of May into June before we start seeing listings show up on the market again, pending, obviously, what happens with us flattening this curve with COVID. So I could, from what we're seeing so far and what we're gauging as far as activity, by the end of May into June, pending how we come out of this COVID situation, we're going to start seeing more and more listings popping up, which also means that our spring market has been pushed right into a fall market most likely. So I do foresee an influx of listings showing up on the marketplace. And that is probably why, going back to the previous question, our pricing has not changed significantly, because we haven't had that drastic drop of transactions in our marketplace. So I do think by the end of May into June, we're going to start seeing some more activity. We're going to start seeing some more listings pop up, and then that's going to refuel this marketplace for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with that. Do you think that we're going to see more of a balanced market coming out of this? I know we were in a pretty strong seller's market before, or thoughts around that?
It probably would be close to a balanced market. It depends on the region. So that's more hyper local.
Yeah.
So it depends on the neighborhood that someone's buying or selling real estate. You go into a place like Amberley, it's probably not going to be a balanced market. It'll still be a seller's market because it is a hot place in Pickering to live, or the West Shore. You move into something like Winfields in North Oshawa, where they've sort of always struggled after 2017. They may move into more of a balanced market. So the question that you've asked me is a pretty difficult one to answer based on looking at a whole picture of Durham region. We have to really break it down to the particular neighborhoods and find out which areas will be balanced market or seller's market,
Yeah,
or,
no,
or
absolutely.
buyer's market.
Yeah, and I think in terms of kind of, it's probably really going to depend on price point as well, in terms of kind of the luxury market versus first time. We're not going to see a one blanket statement. I think for the market, it's all going to be very different. I know I've already been getting a lot of phone calls from people that are starting to think about moving out to the country. Obviously, I think a lot of people are changing, in terms of kind of re-evaluating where they're calling home right now. And so I think, as you said, it's going to be a very, super local in terms of kind of what's happening in the different marketplaces.
Well, I think what's happening all around us right now with COVID, I think in the late 20s in 1929, late 20s, we had the Great Depression. We haven't really seen anything since even 2008. Even let's look at 1989, when there was a massive shift in our marketplace. Everything just stopped one day. People were flooding the market, getting rid of the product. That's probably not going to happen. 2008 came. We had a small bump in the road, more of a speed bump for 6 months of the year, and it kind of bounced back. But I do think that mentally, our generation, we're going to start seeing, this is sort of our Great Depression. This is sort of our way of thinking. In the future, we're going to start spending differently. We're going to start, putting that nest egg of cash flow away to prepare us for something like this to happen in the future. So as you said, it all depends on the neighborhood. It all depends on the price point. Because higher price point homes, they're probably not going to move as fast, and the lower price point homes are still going to move. And it's that same mentality thing pushing that product as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Anything else you want to add in terms of kind of the real estate side of things?
Well, to add, I think that our market is still good. I think that we're moving into a direction. I truly believe, whether you want this on a record or not, I do believe we needed this in a GTA. We needed a bit of a slowdown because we were getting really hot really quickly. And with this, it's kind of it brings us back, and we're going to push forward again. So we're sort of back into November, December 2019 when it comes to pricing, pricing of homes, not the way that the properties are actually selling. I think our prices are still good, but what comes to a challenge and explaining to sellers is, how do we price your home in this point?
Yeah, in terms of kind of, I think definitely as well, we're seeing in this market, you really need someone with experience in terms of kind of, I'm talking to a lot of realtors out there who haven't been through a market like 2008, 2010. And, it's very different, in terms of kind of when you don't put a house in the market and it sells in multiples. In our market, we don't see that as much, but certainly a good time in terms of for realtors to be reevaluating their skill set and working on, different tactics and their negotiation skills.
Well, now's the opportunity for that, right? Right now, I'm personally doing things daily to better educate myself in world economics. I'm constantly reading right now, and I'm furthering my education just because it was more of a passion for me to know about these things. And I think with my role, I should know about it so I can have a conversation around what's going on around us, not only into our hyperlocal market, but in other marketplaces as well. But there's no rule book out there that says a house has to sell in a week. And I think with a lot of agents right now who've been licensed for under 3 years, they only know that a house has to sell within 2 days. So going back and saying, no, a house can stay in the market for a month and it could sell, there's nothing against that. There's no rule book against that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I started in 2008. I thought, you know what, it's a recession, let's get into the real estate market, which actually ended up being the best decision I ever made, because I really learned how to work through a difficult market from the get-go. And I actually came across recently, I do farming, as you know, one of my postcards, and I was advertising I sold a house in 3 weeks. And back then, that was a big deal in terms of kind of our average market time was 90 days. That was 90 days, best case scenario that you were typically on the market for. So I was doing postcards sending out, look what I sold in 3 weeks. So it certainly,
Incredible.
in terms of kind of put things into perspective a bit. So just to finish up, I wanted to know in terms of what's one thing you're most looking forward to when this is all said and done?
Personally or professionally?
Yeah. Let's do
personally. Both. Okay, personally, I'm really looking forward to a date night without the kids, with my wife. That's my personal thing. I just can't wait to drop the kids off and go for a date night, which I think is on everybody's mind.
I love that video I've been seeing on social media where you drop the kids off at the grandparents and you just go
and you run
right away. Yes.
Oh,
I'm waiting for that moment.
And we have 2 sets, so one weekend one set, and the other weekend the other set. Professionally, I can't wait to get everybody back in the office and start seeing everybody again. Running our meetings, I think going forward is going to change, because we've been so successful with the Zoom meetings that we're running. So we're probably going to continue that. However, still have that office environment, be in the office with people, and then also open it up so that people in other regions can also join our meetings as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to going back onto my regular meetings and stuff. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, and it's been interesting for me as the kind of lone country agent out here in Northumberland that I've actually been connecting more with the Hallmark family throughout this, because now everybody's in Zoom meetings, so it's much more accessible and easier for me to kind of, chat with people. So, but
definitely, we like seeing you more often.
Yes, we're going to see a little more of me. But thank you very much for taking the time today. I'm actually going to post a link to the training website for Hallmark, because I think that's been a great offer from the Hallmark family, for other realtors in terms of kind of the trainings that are being offered. But thanks again. You take care, stay safe, and
thank you
to your wife for all that she's doing right now. She's definitely got a hard.
I will let her know.
Okay.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day. Okay.
You too.